You can now search for things that are on sale,
Yes.
things that you don't own. There's other ways to search, so it's a lot easier to search for maybe icons or emotes or anything like that. Oh, what is...
That's the new Vamana skin.
Oh, Congasiero?
That's right. That's the new Vamana skin. Let's move on.
You can now search emotes without having to click each god if you wanted to buy all the dance emotes from all the gods. And now it just shows you where all the emotes are. It's really nice. It's definitely cleaner, and it's also a lot easier for people to search for specific things or just things in general for emotes, skins, wards, etc.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things that go into it. So it also just gives you more accessibility to kind of look through it. I mean, obviously, we add so much content every single patch. You know, the overall content gap is just growing. And so this really allows you to search specifically what you're looking for. One of the cool things, one of my favorites as well, is you can go to the emotes tab and type in the god's name. It'll show you all the emotes side by side. You can buy them one by one. You don't have to worry about it. You know, this just kind of improves a little bit of the usability and also makes it feel, you know, much more, it has better flow when you're going through the store.
Definitely, I agree. Now, one of the things that is also being updated that people can purchase is a Smite World Championship season ticket.
That's right.
Now, this has a lot of things to offer, and I'm gonna read them off right now. Is that when unlocking the new season ticket bundle, you receive 2 SPL Xbalanque skins, the season ticket loading frame, and access to the season ticket fantasy game.
That's right.
That, each ticket purchase contributes $2.50 to the general prize pool for Season 2 Esports, which we did last year with the Odyssey. So, give me a rundown on the season ticket and especially the season ticket fantasy game.
Right, well, you know, a little bit different from last year, right? A lot of the prize pool that came from the Odyssey specifically was geared towards the SWC, whereas this is more of, you know, a Season 2 ticket, where it's just, you know, the general funding for the rest of Season 2, prize pools for LAN events, and really ways for players to get, who are actively involved in esports and playing and competing every day, to get some rewards to really kind of pay off for how much time they've invested in being the best players in Smite in the world. And, you know, what you're going to do is, you know, you're going to be able to pick this up, and you'll get 2 skins right off the bat. You'll get, of course, a European and a North American SPL 2015 Xbalanque skin. You got the mask up on screen right there, so you can show your pride for your I guess your continent at that point, and really show, you know, where your loyalties lie. But along with that, you'll get a loading frame. This is actually probably one of the most important aspects as you start with the season ticket. You know, equipping this loading frame you see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen there. While this is on, you actually start collecting points. Now, there's a couple ways to collect points, and you know, your points allow you to get rewards. We'll go over that in a second, but specifically having this frame on consistently, when you win games, you'll collect fantasy points. That's one of the ways to do it. But one of the cool things about this fantasy game is it actually allows you to show how much you know about the SPL and the professional teams.
Really?
You'll get a list of all the matchups coming up for that week in the Smite Pro League, and you get to pick who you think is going to win, and whether or not you get it correct, you'll get more fantasy points.
So unlike the fantasy system that we had before where people built their own fantasy team, this you pick the team that you think they can win. That's exciting. And what else are people going to get for the Smite World Championship season ticket?
By winning games with the loading frame active, you get 15 fantasy points, and then 20 for being able to get a correctly picked game win for the team during the SPL. Of course, these matches have to be chosen before the match actually begins, but as you accrue points, you start to earn rewards. And right now, we're planning to add more rewards in the future, but right now we have 3 rewards planned, one at 1,000, one at 2,000, and one at 3,000. I guess we're looking at the big cheese here, the final reward, which is going to be at 3,000 points, which is our Void Worm Kukulkan skin. This is probably one of my favorite skins we've done in a very, very long time.
Look at it. Look how cool it is. It's so creepy and alien-esque, but also kind of has a dragon vibe behind him. And you know, and like the winged serpent, it's just, it's so cool. It's so creepy, and I'm a really big fan. So by getting to 3,000 points, you get this skin for free.
Just unlocks. There's the giant alien.
Oh, nice. Even the ultimate has the giant alien. Oh.
Acceptable performance.
That is terrifying. Oh god, alright.
You can see he speaks an alien language. He's not 100%.
So I just want to confirm, so people have purchased, or they have the loading car or the loading frame, but they don't use it, the points won't matter.
You won't collect points for winning a game. So when you queue up for normal matches, as long as you have the loading frame equipped, you'll start earning those points just for playing the game that you play already. And then, of course, you get the points for correctly picking the teams. That's the 2 ways to get points right now.
All right. So this isn't the only award that you guys get. Before you get the Skukulkan, you're going to be getting a Nemesis skin that looks ridiculous.
She's awesome.
Dude, like Executioner or what would be the proper? What's the proper skin name for this?
I'm actually blanking on that one, but yeah, kind of the idea of it, right? Executioner, and you got the hood on top of her. You've got that sweet axe that she's swinging as well, and you know, a custom voice pack came along with this one. This is actually the first reward you get for the season ticket fantasy game. So this one requires 1,000 points, and once you have that, you're all set and ready to go. This is the first thing you'll unlock, and she's pretty awesome.
She's so cool. I'm a really big fan of this, like, this metal, like, you know, kind of rock band look that a lot of these skins are getting. I'm a big fan. Now we have a Tier 2 skin coming up. This doesn't have anything to do with this My World Championship ticket, but it is a Circuit Tier 2 skin. You guys saw that on Twitter if you saw on Smite Game. And I honestly like some of these Tier 2 skins more than I like some of the Tier 3 and 4 skins. It's simple, it's only 250 gems, so if you don't have a lot of gems and you want to, like, you know, get something a little small on the side, it's perfect. It looks so cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of these Tier 2 skins, originally we realized that, you know, the base character, I mean, while people love skins and changing the character, sometimes you love the base character, the personality, the visuals, and everything, like, you're really attached to that character, and we didn't really want to break that, right? So you have this opportunity to alter slightly the character you love so much while getting a different flair and making you stand out a little bit more, while keeping that base character you like a lot.
Yeah, that's right. And as a reminder, guys, these Tier 2 skins, although they are cheaper, they don't have any custom animations or voice packs. It's just small model changes and maybe something beyond that. Yep. But we have a new card update. It is Vulcan Ironsmith card. Ooh.
He's a champion.
I'm a big fan of the purple on that. The dark and the light, the contrast that's going on. All right, and we have, oh gosh, all right, so we've had some like cool rock skins, we've had some small, like, nice little updates, and now we have the best skin, Tier 4. It's adorable. You could say it's kawaii.
It is quite adorable, yes.
Kawaii, as the one and only Avril Lavigne once said. Let's just show the best at kawaii pop skin.
She's a kawaii kitty.
Oh, look at that! It's so
She's
adorable.
a kawaii kitty.
Oh my gosh, there's rainbows and hearts. It looks like a rainbow girl mixed with Sailor Moon.
Look at the cat. It gets sad when you don't jump back.
Oh no! So there's custom animations for not just like the passive and all this. Oh,
rainbow Nan cats.
The cats have rainbow trails?
Yes, they're rainbow Nan cats.
And they're white. Kitty.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. So this is the new Tier 4 Kawaii Pop Bastet skin, everyone. And it is goddamn kawaii.
It is.
And there's a little something else in there for the, what is it, the loading animation that I'm sure Pon is quite a big fan of. But
yeah, so in part of the voice pack, you'll see some really cool things that come out of it.
I don't know if you guys can hear the voice pack, but I can't.
Oh, sorry.
Fantastic.
That was fun, friend. Nina-san, good luck. Shushies. Please don't fret. That's not fair. Let's have fun. You are so cute. I just want to make you into a plushie.
Oh, you see the jump? Dude, those white kittens, and when they run, they leave rainbow trails. That's amazing. You know, she kind of sounds like an anime version of Lights Dance Hell.
I can hear it, yeah. It's almost if it's super similar.
Alright, so we have some quality of life and gameplay changes coming up, such as Curse Voice is actually getting a better integration to Smite now that you can join Curse with your friends on your friends list and everything.
That's right, so on the friends list you'll be able to see which of your friends actually has Curse Voice installed and also whether it's running, and so you can know that they have voice open, and so you actually invite them to a Curse Voice call directly from your friends list inside Smite.
Nice, so you don't have to be in the game and anything, you can just invite them right from the get-go.
That's right, before you even queue up.
Other quality of life changes, there's an option to disable and enable sound notifications. You can now, the music slider now controls the landing page music, so no longer will you be terrified by Daisy Despair, Scylla,
I thought it was awesome.
Or any other loud, obnoxious voices or songs going on in the background in the launcher. I'm sorry about that.
I'm not.
There's a few fixes to arena issues as well, and now you cannot edit the sin button in chat. I don't know if you saw it on Reddit, but that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I saw it.
You can't do that anymore, sorry
Can't
guys.
unsee it.
Now, items.
That's right.
We got a lot of item changers, guys. Or I don't know if a lot is the right word.
We have some.
We have some.
We
Okay.
have some.
Some's a good word.
Yep.
So the first item that we're going to be talking about is a new starting item for mages, and it is Soulstone. And Rory, why don't you take that away?
Yeah, so for a very long time, mages have only had the Vampiric Shroud as their starting item option, and so given a good contrast, obviously we introduced the Bluestone Pendant going into Season 2, had a contrast there to Death's Toll. This item is a little bit different than Vamp Shroud. Now, right off the bat, you'll see the base stats. It's starting with 100 mana instead of 100 health. You don't really start with health on this item, but you get a little more benefit from it. And so how this item works is as you basic attack minions or enemy gods, you'll pull a fragment of their soul out and store it in the soul stone. And so what this will do is every stack that you gain is actually increasing your MP5 up to 5, and then once you get to 5 stacks or 5 souls in the soul stone, your next ability gets fired as if you had plus 30 magic power plus the flat 20. You're shooting out of the base with plus 50 magical.
And does that put it on cooldown once it reaches 5 stacks?
Just you start stacking back up again with basic attacks.
Oh, okay, fantastic. So someone like Isis who has an AoE basic attack, is that going to hit all 3? Like if she
Yes.
hits... Oh, wow,
Yep.
fantastic. So what gods will pick this up, and what gods will probably stick with the stereotypical build?
The gods that clear very quickly, right? Someone like Poseidon clears so fast, he probably wouldn't have enough time to basic attack to stack it up. But someone like Scylla, where her early starting push isn't as strong, she can basic attack 5 times throughout the crush, get a big burst on it, and clear it as fast or close to what other characters would be pushing through. And one thing that I should preface this with is we're trying out this new item, and all more item changes that we're about to announce here. And we encourage everyone to hop on the PTS, try it out, give feedback, and let us know where your head is at on the item and really what you see out of it.
Do you think that we could potentially see this on other gods, such as maybe a Guardian or someone that uses a lot of mana, that they might want the MP5?
Potentially.
Oh, all
or
right.
maybe even Ao Guang in the jungle. I mean, really, there's a lot of possibilities here.
Fantastic. Well, that'll be on the PTS this weekend, guys. And now, up next is Devourer's Gauntlet.
That's right.
It's getting a nerf.
It is.
Why is it getting a nerf?
It's not a big nerf. Now, something that we did going to Season 2, we repositioned a lot of the way hunters build and play, and we didn't really want to do that with this major content update. We talked a little about that going to Season 2, that we'd have major content updates. This would be one of them. And so, not forcing a lot of changes in the hunter build, this kind of just gives more wiggle room. So what we did was we lowered the base starting physical power on the Devourer's Gauntlets, and also increased the amount of stacks you require. Now, you get less per stack, but there's more stacks, and so that means you actually equal the exact same amount from the passive
It
you
just
get
takes
normally.
longer.
It just takes longer to get there.
Okay.
And you have -5 physical power at the beginning. And so what this means is that someone who went Heartseeker or Bloodforge would have a little bit more time to abuse the person that went Devourer's Gauntlet, and that gives a little bit more room for more items for hunters.
Is this going to change any hunter's builds, do you feel? Because a lot of people do rush Dev's Gloves. Do you think that's going to change with this?
Well, once we finish a couple more items, there is a possibility there. Yeah.
Oh, is there indeed? Well, with that being said, Heartseeker is getting a little bit of a buff.
That's right.
Its price is being reduced from $19.50 to $17.90, and is getting increased physical power from 25 to 30.
That's right.
And Frostbound Hammer and Frostbound and Heavy Hammer are getting changed. Rory, please go through it.
That's right. So Heartseeker, just to begin with, that 5 physical power we took off of Devourer's Gauntlet, we slipped and dropped it right onto Heartseeker, and so it just went right over there. But given the fact that it's actually the same price now as Doom Orb, and so these kind of stacking items where you lose stacks, the risk kind of has to match the reward, and we felt that the way Heartseeker was, it was a little bit too high of a risk for what you were getting, and so buffing this up a little bit gives you more room to go with Heartseeker, and also with the price decrease, it means you can get it a little bit faster, and maybe kind of punish people who are going Devourer's Gauntlet. Now, you mentioned Frostbound Hammer as well. This item, a lot of people end up picking up Heavy Hammer and then not finishing it, and we really wanted to incentivize Frostbound Hammer as an item. So this is actually the second highest HP item in the entire game now, going
wow.
from plus 300 to plus 400. The passive is exactly the same. This slows attack speed and movement speed still, and has the 25 physical power as it previously did. We just added 100 more HP on that one, and of course, going along with the Devourer's Gauntlet and Heartseeker, we have Butterfingers. We took that 100 health from somewhere, we picked it up off the Heavy Hammer, we dropped it on the Frostbound Hammer on accident. There it is. But Heavy Hammer, the price is exactly the same. It has lost 100 health base, and actually has lost 10% off the slow as well. It's now 15% slow and only 100 health.
Now that's what made it, made Heavy Hammer so OP, right? Is
That's
that only on a tier 2 for so cheap you're able to get 25% slow.
Right.
Now, do you think this is going to affect solo lane a lot? Do you think a lot of warriors are probably not going to be picking up this item anymore, or is it still going to be relatively viable?
Well, with how much HP you have now on Frostbound, it could be an option for a lot of players to go directly into, especially with a 30% slow. I mean, you're doubling the slow on Heavy Hammer to Frostbound now. What it means that you still can buy the Heavy Hammer Hammer. It's the same price. It's accessible if you want to go down that risky road. But without that extra 100 health, you're not as safe as you were before. And the slow is not so much. The characters that really have slow base movement speed at the beginning of the game aren't punished as hard as they were before. But there's still an option to play that aggressive playstyle if you really want to.
All right. One of my favorite nerfs for the items on this patch is Magi's Blessing is getting a small nerf. The increased cooldown from 45 seconds to 60 seconds. Now, do you think this is going to change the importance of beads, anti-CC, or people buying Magi's? Because Magi's is usually a pretty solid 5th or 6th item, right?
Yep.
You're done building everything. You need some kind of CC like security.
That's right.
You buy Magi's. Is this going to change that at all?
Possibly not, but the big thing about Magi's is that, in the last patch we had just made a fix for one of the functionalities, the way the item was working. Previously,
That's right.
if you were, knock-up immune, you got hit by a knock-up, it would take your Magi's away. And just from, a feel and philosophical standpoint, we really wanted to be, if you're not actually going to get hit by it because you're immune, it shouldn't be popping the Magi's. And just to go along with that change, of course, we had to make some adjustments to the item, because that means that you could actually prevent the the Magi's from popping in certain situations. So by extending that cooldown a little bit longer means that it functions more than you'd expect, but also means that since you can control a little bit more, there's longer of a cooldown.
All right, and finally for items, the boots are getting changed. Reinforced shoes and greaves have had their health increase from 100 to 150 both.
That's right.
Now, it doesn't seem like people were really buying those items. Even in the support role, it seemed pretty rare.
Sure.
Is that why you've increased the 150, and is that going to give it more viability to supports?
It will, and we just mentioned how Frostbound Hammer was the second highest HP item in the game with 400. This means you can go Mark of the Vanguard, Reinforced Shoes, and get 300 right off the bat out of the gate. So you get a lot of health off this item. Now, obviously, crowd control reduction is a stat that has its uses, and I think on that item it's very powerful. But we just really wanted to make this item a little bit more of a tanky item and a little more incentive to buy it.
Okay, fair enough. And Teleria and Traveler's boots are also getting changed, but it's the passive. Why don't you go over that?
So this one is something that we're really curious to see people testing out on the PTS and really get some feedback on, because this is a little bit different. Now, we've heard the cries for support, and obviously, going into Season 2, with the changes that happened to the gameplay and how it actually goes throughout the entirety of the game, there was some issues where some supports, if you fell behind, you had trouble keeping up with your golden experience. So this item is a little bit different. Now, number one, the first thing off the bat, we have increased the passive movement speed you get from the actual passive, interestingly enough. And so previously, it was a 18% flat, and then it was a 10% on the passive. Now it's 18% flat and 14% on the passive. So total out of combat, you have 32% movement speed on this item. That's a lot of movement speed.
And that's great for Guardians that need to be rotating
That's
and everything to the mid lane whenever the Harpies spawn.
Yep, and lining that up with roaming and actually being in mid lane, solo lane, all over the place. Every time you hit an enemy god, and I specifically say hit and not damage, because that means if you Athena taunt, if you Hades blight or something like that, or you silence someone, it's a hit. Right?
Oh, it is
so
a
that
hit.
counts as
Okay.
a hit. So if you're being a guardian, you're doing guardian things, as guardians often do, you're going around hitting people and actually being a good guardian, roaming around the map, you're actually being rewarded by that, by getting 50 experience and 30 gold every time you do that, and this has an internal cooldown per god of 90 seconds.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's just plus 50 experience and plus 30 gold for that one hit?
That's right.
Oh, okay.
And then it goes on cooldown.
So for every
that
90
person.
seconds.
Yep. One thing I should note as well, globals like Nuwa's Ultimate, the Fire Shards, only apply this once. So you wouldn't be able to buy this as Nuwa. Unfortunately enough, I'm sure people are imagining about it right now. You can't ult with Nuwa and get 5 stacks of this. It would only be one.
No? No 250 gold for 1 second?
Nope.
Oh, what a shame. Well, that is it for item changes, everyone, and now we're going on to God balance.
That's right.
Now, the first god are talking about right now, it's a small change to Apollo. He's actually getting a small buff after the nerf from Season 2. He kind of hasn't really been in the scene at all. So his base stats are getting buffed. His increased base physical power has been increased from 36 to 40, and his increased base physical power per level has been increased from 2.5 to 2.6. Now Ao Kwang. He's getting a big buff.
He is.
Roy, give it to me.
So Ao Guang is a character that we've kind of keeping our eye on for a very long time, and going into Season 2, he was performing pretty reasonably well, and one thing we'd notice is on top of all that is that his damage was quite high, a little bit higher than most assassins, so we brought that down to be more in line. But one thing that came out of Season 2 is his damage actually suffered overall in his kit, right? He wasn't able to secure that kill as often as he would like, and so sticking with the Season 2, we kind of position around a few things. Now obviously the first thing you're going to see on screen actually is Dragon Call. This is, some of these quality of life changes are actually going to be, have balance implications there as well. But just from a feel standpoint, it also will feel a lot better. So what happens is, now while you're in stealth, you can activate Dragon Call, and it won't break your stealth, which means you can act very much like Loki, where he can pop the Vanish, pop the Aim Strike, and hit someone before he reveals himself. Aoguang will be able to do the same thing.
But you'll still be able to hear the sound effects and
the
everything.
cues will be there. He just won't pop himself out of stealth before he gets there.
Just as terrifying as Loki, right?
That's right.
You hear that ching sound, and then you know it's time to
You
run.
heard the same thing. And one thing to think about as well, if he did reactivate the Dragon Call to do the ranged projectile and fired it, it would break. So this is just applying the dragons around yourself and not doing any active elements there. Another quality of life, which does have balance implications, but this one's more quality of life. The water illusion now, just like the Loki decoy, when it expires, the duration is done, it will automatically detonate. It won't just vanish.
And there is changes to his ultimate now.
That's right.
That's probably where the biggest changes we're going to be seeing. King of the Eastern Seas has now an increased cast range from 15 feet to 17 feet, so now you're going to be able to chase people a lot easier. And an increased kill threshold. It started at 23%, ended at 35. Now it is 30% at all ranks.
That's right.
So it's actually getting a tiny nerf at the end game.
That's right.
But definitely a big buff at the early game.
Yeah, so, one thing we saw as well is a lot of times, especially for a character like Aoguang, where he was, all in or nothing, anytime either he got the kill or he ended up dying because he's so squishy, it was tough to swing 23% at the early game, and a lot of times they were almost near death or they were going to kill you before you got that execute off. So he's getting pretty significant. 7% health at level 1, at level 5 you have level 1 of the ability. That's a pretty significant increase to his ultimate, but it also means that you now have an easier way to get to that execute, and also helps you a little bit early game, but doesn't affect his damage from his 2 or his 1, right? He's still at the same state he was before, he just now is a little closer to getting that execute more often.
Okay, and he's also getting the Kali treatment on his ultimate, where now his, if you successfully execute someone, it now restores 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30% for 1 through rank 5 on his ultimate. Now, is that going to, that obviously is going to give him a lot of chances to kill and then come back and maybe fight some more instead of just getting killed and trying to run away. Is 30% at max rank, that's huge.
Well, unfortunately enough, Bakasura kept making fun of him because Bakasura would eat a tiny minion and he would get health, and then he would eat a god as a dragon and get none. But really what we saw just from gameplay generally is that Aoguang very, very rarely was re-engaging after his ultimate, even though, of course, when he lands, his King Sword is restored and he's able to use more abilities and get back in the fight. Because he risked so much to get that kill, a lot of times he had to use the dragon form to fly away and disengage. So, starting at 10% maximum health, going up to 30%, gives you another reason to level the ability up and also keep, King of the Eastern Seas at a high level, but also means that, you may have that chance to go back into the fight when you get a successful kill.
Fair enough. All right, Kronos is going to be getting a tiny buff. We fixed Lotus Crown passive not working when he uses his 1, so now he's going to get the bonus or health regeneration. Now, Kumbhakarno, he's actually been getting a few buffs almost every single patch, it seems, and now he's getting an even bigger buff, mainly to his Mighty Yawn, and now also applies a 30, 35, 40, 40, and 50% attack speed slow if enemies are woken early. Now, why would people, essentially when you mez someone, say you mez 3 people, you want to keep the other 2 asleep, right? And you just focus on 1 person. Is this now a reason to try and wake everyone up so that their attack speeds are slowed, or like how does this apply to gameplay?
Potentially, and I think on paper this one feels, not as actually, as effective as it could be, right? You look at this, and really just kind of going in line with Season 2, we really wanted to position more characters into a niche that would be like, why would I pick Kumbhakarna? At this point, he's always been our high CC Guardian. He's got a lot of CCs in his kit. He's got a root, he's got a knock-up, he's got, the Mez, of course, and now he's got the attack speed slow. This would be a great Guardian to pick up against a very attack speed heavy lineup, Nemesis in the jungle, or Cyrus or Bakasura in the solo lane, and then a Hunter, obviously. This means you can start to counter those characters more effectively, but also it means that, when he's in his sleep form, he's down on the ground, his passive is active, you can slow their attack speed by yawning then, and that means they kill you slower. So this is a pretty inherent buff directly to the character.
Yeah, you're right, especially to that passive. Also, his ultimate epic uppercut is going to be getting a buff. I wouldn't necessarily call this a buff, but 25% of the damage from this ability now happens at the initial hit, with the remaining 75% upon landing. Before it was 100% at the landing, right?
That's right.
How does this change his ultimate?
It doesn't change too much. In fact, the numbers are exactly the same. He got no damage increase at all. But the big thing about this is that, it happened a lot to Kuma where, if you, ended up not positioning your ultimate correctly or using it at the right time, you would hit someone who was CC immune, and that means that you would do absolutely no damage to them. And so by taking 25% of that damage and putting it on the front end before you hit, it means you'll almost always guarantee some damage, even if you don't knock them up in the air, and then you get the bonus at the end. We still wanted to incentivize, successfully using the ultimate. That's why it's 25-75. But at the same point, it means that, if you do hit a CC immune target, you'll still get an effect for your ultimate.
All right, fair enough. And like you said, the damage doesn't change on the initial hit or the landing hit. So
right. It's the same total. It's just now split up differently.
Fair enough. Neith is getting a little bit of a buff. It's surprising when we nerfed everyone. Apollo Ramen on her got like the short end of the stick for all the other hunters, while people were like gods, Cupid, not Rom, I'm sorry, Uller, they seem to be more of the niche, but Neith kind of stayed in the same note. She wasn't more popular, she wasn't, didn't seem to be getting more game time, so we changed a bit of her. Why don't you go through that?
So the change we made to Neith in Season 2, which was kind of the opposite of everyone else, right? For most hunters, it was reducing their clear by adding after the first hit, you deal less damage. Neith was the only hunter in the game that had this originally, and during Season 2, we removed it from her, so she does full damage through all minions. And that's really just because we wanted to position her as an ability hunter, because that's what she is. I mean, most of her abilities do a pretty significant amount of damage. She has some CC elements there, but she's one of the few hunters in the game that doesn't really have a way to directly steroid herself. And so she's not really built for late game in-hand damage. She's definitely a very strong ability hunter, and because most hunters are getting, Apollo obviously got the in-hand bonus that really builds into his passive. Neith, being that ability hunter that she is, we wanted to bolster that up by giving her more damage onto her Spirit Arrow. And one thing to note as well, because her Spirit Arrow got more scaling and more damage, it also means the weave is affected the same amount, so that amount is doubled.
Oh wow. Do you think that this is going to allow Neith to compete with gods like Xbalanque and Artemis and everyone else that we've been seeing during competitive play?
I would like to see that, yeah.
Alright, up next, Osiris is getting a small buff. They increased the base attack speed from 0.95 to 1 and fixed showing 2 times boots in the recommended list.
Yeah, he was actually one of the only gods in the entire game that bought 2 boots for 2 feet, and we thought that was a little ridiculous. So we took 1 boot off of that recommended item build.
You only get 1 boot, man.
Only 1 boot. That's it. So that bug was fixed. But in all seriousness, the change we made to him going into Season 2 really meant that, his base attack starting base attack speed really helped him kind of utilize that attack chain, and also, really got him into the early, when you have the slow stacking up on people from the flail and the sickle, you get close enough to get the intent damage. But, going into Season 2, we actually made some nerfs to his core item base, and also to some of his, prey, I guess. Some of the characters he would normally pick on got a little bit stronger, and so overall I think we just really wanted to give Osiris a little bit of a boost from where he was coming out of Season 1. Now, one thing to note as well, his base attack speed was reduced going into Season 2. It's brought up, but it's not brought up all the way. He still is starting less than he had in Season 1, but it's just a little bit more than it was.
Alright, that sounds reasonable. Now, I'm sure some people, aka Bart, are going to be upset about this. Sun Wukong is coming back, and he's coming back strong.
It's happening.
Almost every single thing of his is being updated. Why don't you go through it? Magic Cudgel, Master's Will, and 72 transformations are all getting buffs.
That's right. So what we did is we actually increased it. So Magic Cudgel now, instead of doing 20% more damage to minions and jungle camps, and now does 25%. So he was clearing slightly less than most warriors and struggling against mages to clear the wave, especially in the solo lane, and sometimes in the jungle if you wanted to play him that way. So we gave him a little more damage to minions and jungle camps, and that means that Cudgel still does the same amount to gods. If you're talking about Master's Will, the base damage went up by 10 at all ranks, so just a slight bit more damage to help him clear the wave, and this actually will have a pretty noticeable effect to his clearing power. And one of the changes we made as well, which just kind of looking back on him as a character overall, setting 2 transformations, the Tiger Stun actually started at 0.6 seconds at level 1 for the stun duration. That's actually going to be brought up to 1 second up to 1.4, so it ends at the same amount, it just means you have a higher base.
But that starting is going to be really important. When you hit a stun on someone, you can chase them down easier, or if you play some Wukong in the support role and you need to CC, you need to peel people.
That's right.
So that's a pretty big buff for him. But that's it for all the god updates, everyone. And we're going to be talking about a little someone. Now, you're going to have to correct me on the pronunciation, because I pretty much just pronounce everything wrong. Aupois?
Puch.
Puch.
It's P-W-A-S-H is how you say it.
Gesundheit. He is the Mayan god of death, and he's going to be a mage. I originally thought that he was going to be the first Mayan mage, but then I forgot about Kukulkan.
Yeah. that's right. So he is the, he is the lord of the underworld, and he's going to be, the horrific god of decay is his official title, as we do see a little bit of movement in the background there. He is the horrific god of decay, and he is a Mayan mage, and being the lord of the underworld, SPL 2015 Xbalanque skin, you got the mask up on screen right there, so you can show your pride for your I guess your continent at that point, and really show where your loyalties lie. But along with that, you'll get a loading frame. This is actually probably one of the most important aspects as you start with the season ticket. Equipping this loading frame you see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen there. While this is on, you actually start collecting points. Now, there's a couple ways to collect points, and your points allow you to get rewards. We'll go over that in a second, but specifically having this frame on consistently, when you win games, you'll collect fantasy points. That's one of the ways to do it. But one of the cool things about this fantasy game is it actually allows you to show
You can now search for things that are on sale, things that you don't own. There's other ways to search, so it's a lot. Purchase contributes $2.50 to the general prize pool for Season 2 Esports, which we did last year with the Odyssey. So give me a rundown on the season ticket and especially the season ticket fantasy game.
Right, well, a little bit different from last year, right? A lot of the prize pool that came from the Odyssey specifically was geared towards the SWC, whereas this is more of, a Season 2 ticket, where it's just, the general funding for the rest of Season 2, prize pools for LAN events, and really ways for players who are actively involved in esports and playing and competing every day to get some rewards to really kind of pay off for how much time they've invested in being the best players in Smite in the world. And, what you're going to do is, you're going to be able to pick this up, and you'll get 2 skins right off the bat. You'll get, of course, a European and a North American.
Easier to search for maybe icons or emotes or anything like that. Oh, what is...
That's the new Vamana skin.
Oh, Cangasiero?
That's right. That's the new Vamana skin. Let's move on.
You can now search emotes without having to click each god if you wanted to buy all the dance emotes from all the gods. And now it just shows you where all the emotes are. It's really nice. It's definitely cleaner, and it's also a lot easier for people to search for specific things or just things in general for emotes, skins, wards, etc.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things that go into this. It also just gives you more accessibility to kind of look through it. I mean, obviously, we add so much content every single patch. The overall content gap is just growing. And so this really allows you to search specifically what you're looking for. One of the cool things, one of my favorites as well, is you can go to the emotes tab and type in the god's name. It'll show you all the emotes side by side. You can buy them one by one. You don't have to worry about it. This just kind of improves a little bit of the usability and also makes it feel, much more, it has better flow when you're going through the store.
Definitely, I agree. Now, one of the things that is also being updated that people can purchase is a Smite World Championship season ticket.
That's right.
Now this has a lot of things to offer, and I'm gonna read them off right now. Is that when unlocking the new season ticket bundle, you receive 2 SPL Xbalanque skins, the season ticket loading frame, and access to the season ticket fantasy game.
That's right.
That each ticket